So through all this pandemic, again, the market has remained extremely strong, and not just in Nova Scotia. Housing across the country has been on fire. Like, this is one of the big business stories of the year, right?
100%. And, that was exacerbated by people, really reevaluating how they were living. I've never been home as much as I have been in the last 16 months or so. And, the type of homes that people need, I think, are changing. People are working from home, and some people are never going back to the office. So, I think people had some more time to think about really what was their long-term plan in terms of housing. And you know what? It certainly created a lot of activity in the market, but also a lot of demand. And part of the challenge in Nova Scotia is there's a limited amount of supply, and that's really driven up the prices. Now, the one thing really that I can speak to is, in Halifax, there is going to be more supply coming on board. But I think one of the issues that the federal government needs to work with the province and the province needs to work with the municipality is to cut some of the red tape to get more shovels in the ground.
Yeah.
Let's get some of these building lots going. Let's work on some HST credits from different levels of government to, really help. And I think the housing stock is an issue. It's not just an issue here in Halifax. It's an issue across the country in more urban areas. And, it's not, the solution is not going to be overnight.
Yeah, I was going to say, you don't turn that around in a day, right?
No, it doesn't happen in a day, but I think the decisions...
Or a year even.
I think the decisions that are made today and in the coming days, weeks, months, even of this year, are going to impact what's going to happen here in 3 and 4 and 5 years down the road. And if we don't, start solving some of these policy issues and, really start solving some of the housing challenges, I think it's going to, just further inflate maybe the market.
Mm-hmm.
And some people are asking me, Clinton, do you think the prices are going to go back to more of a normal state? I think this is the new normal in terms of price. There may be slightly less demand, and we may go to more of a balanced market, at some point once there is more supply.
So the need for mortgages and the lending capacity has gone up exponentially. We know that. We're talking about that. Where's the money come from? Where's the capital come from? Have lenders been sitting on this money? Are they borrowing money to then lend money? How does this all work?
They all borrow money to lend money.
Yeah.
They all do. And at one time, you used to have, a penny for every dollar you lent out.
Mm-hmm.
Now the lenders have to have more capital on reserve based on how much they're lending. And, the federal government is really interested in that, and they're really interested in protecting the lenders, and they're really interested in making sure that consumers can continue to pay their mortgages. So, in the news the last, several weeks and months, we're talking about changes to the stress test, and that went into effect June 1st. And really, the moral of the story of that stress test was they basically are making it more challenging for new buyers to enter the market and existing homeowners to maybe borrow more money. So with the stress test, prior to June 1st, we were qualifying consumers at a 5-year posted rate from the Bank of Canada at 4.79. They've decoupled that, and now the stress test has increased to 5.25. So basically, if you're looking to buy a home, now you can qualify for about 5% less than what you could have qualified for in May.
Right. Okay, so to simplify this thing, because people say, what do you mean 5.25%? I'm getting my mortgages was at 1.8 or whatever. Mm-hmm. You are qualified, though, in case that goes up in that 5-year span, if interest rates skyrocket or renewal, if they jump to 5.25, based on everything that you bring in, you got to be able to cover that 5.25.
Exactly, and that's what we're looking at every day. Yeah. Now, the only caveat, the only people who are maybe getting an exception of this is if you've made a purchase agreement prior to the 1st of June, then you can qualify on the old rules. but those are the only people that can still qualify, and those applications must be received by June 30th.
That's not a pre-approval either, is it?
That is a real live deal.
That's a live deal,
purchase agreement that was executed prior to the 1st of June. So really, we're qualifying everyone now at 5.25. Everyone who had an existing pre-approval, we've sent them an email and say, guess what? You can qualify for less now.
Yeah.
And, it's going to take some buyers out of this market.
Yeah.
Because, those buyers maybe were at the top of their affordability and what they can qualify for before. And now really they can qualify for 5% less.
What percent would you say is no longer going to be in the market as a result of this?
I think it's a fringe percent.
Like less than 2%, something like that?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe it's 5%.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't have those stats. And as the prices increase, more and more people are going to be priced out of the market. I think that's just reality.
Okay, but it's protecting the industry as well, and protecting people's long-term financial position also, right? There's
true.
a reason for it.
And that's why the federal government, OSFI, and the Minister of Finance came out and said they're aligning these stress tests. 'Cause originally, when they first had rumblings that they were going to make the changes, it was only going to be for conventional mortgages. So for mortgages for people who are buying a home with putting down 20% or more, those were the rules that were going to be, or if you were doing a refinance. But when the rules officially came out, OSFI said that, what they were doing with the rule changes. The Minister of Finance came out and said she was going to support an alignment of both the OSFI rules for the conventional mortgages and the high ratio insured mortgages. So that would be from the Canadian Mortgage and Housing Corporation, Sagen, and Canada Guarantee. There was going to be an alignment. So everyone's now qualifying at the same higher stress test rate.
Okay, I want to talk to you in the next segment. I want to talk to you after the break about home ownership. You talk about the Canadian dream, and it is the Canadian dream, but for many, that dream has been shattered because of this market. This is a story that we're seeing play it out right across the country. So that's something that I want to talk to you about, and because that's a real issue, right? Just quickly.
Yeah, it is for sure. And, I think new buyers and first-time home buyers, those are the people that I'm worried about. I'm not worried about myself.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about people who already own homes. I'm worried for the people that are just getting into the market for the first time.
Okay, so we're going to get to that. It's Mortgage 101, your guide to home ownership with Clinton Wilkins and myself, Todd Veinotte. We'll be back.